Previously on Chaos Head Noah. Before I knew it, the song was over. The audience clapped and cheered. Then, having seemingly calmed down a little, everyone brought down their fists. Thanks to that, the road to the stage finally opened up, and I was able to see it clearly. I got a good look at the short-haired girl standing in the middle of the stage. She was definitely not the demon girl.
今日はいつもより調子いいわ。声がクリアに聞こえる。世界がとても澄んでいる。
The voice coming through the amp sounded nothing like the demon girl that had said those cryptic words to me.
呼吸と性の門が閉じているからかもしれない。
I'm sorry, what? Cocutus? What language was she even speaking? Greece, buddy! Educate yourself!
世界の均衡は大いなる意志が生まれてから数千年間保たれていた。でも今、それは崩れつつある。とても不安定。だから、私は歌うわ。君たちのカオスを受け入れてあげる。
A thunderous roar came from the speakers. A roar that felt like it was going to blow out my eardrums. How had these people not gone deaf yet, hanging out in places like this all the time? Looking to my side, I noticed Misumi-kun was fully into it, pumping his fist in sync with the rest of the audience. The intro ended. Fest began to sing, and when I heard the lyrics, I swallowed hard. Everyone was getting riled up at first, but as the song went on, the excitement dropped further and further. And by the end, everyone just stood there, not saying a word. But that was because everyone was fully lost in the sound. Some of them just stared at Fest, completely entranced. There was definitely something about Fest's singing voice that captivated people. Even as I battled fear and nausea in the middle of the crowd, I found myself listening very closely to her song, not wanting to miss it. Goosebumps sprang up all over me. For a moment, it felt like the air itself had frozen over. What was that? Across the crowds of people, on the stairs to 107, stood a girl that stuck out like a sore thumb. Was she holding a sword? Well, is it Fess, by any chance? The color and aura it gave off felt somewhat similar to the mic stand Fess had been using at the concert. In fact, I'd say it was perfectly fair to think of them in the same vein. But even then, it was still one massive sword. It might have been even longer than Fess's mic stand. To my surprise, the girl was wearing a Sume uniform. I couldn't make out her face from this distance, but despite holding something so conspicuous, the girl seemed relaxed as could be. She simply watched the people walk down the street from atop the stairs. Talk about bravery. I'm seriously impressed.
やっぱ変だよ。お兄とこうして二人で出かけるのって久しぶりな気がするもん。いつ以来かな。よく思い出せないや。お兄はいっつも部屋にこもってアニメ見てるかゲームしてるかだもんね。ま、たまにはこういうのもいいかな、新鮮で。さすがに毎日はナナも嫌だけど。
That's just the cutest burger-eating face I've seen in a good long time. This just brings such joy to my cold, dead heart, seeing this dying message. I only seen the image for an instant, and yet...
ゲームだ。こんな世界は虚構のゲームの世界に違いないんだ。
The victim's last message, written sloppily in deep red blood, had been burned into my mind. No matter how much I tried not to think about it, the letters rose one by one on my closed eyelids, urging me to realize them.
なんであの言葉がここで出てくるんだ。
I knew those words all too well. The words I often murmured to myself. Words I asked nobody in particular. The words Grimm had first said when I jumped in on ESO. It was like they were everywhere now. Those words that I had never actually said to anyone throughout my entire life.
L2 の8、0.62 メガ GE、ハイスコアです。
先月より38ポイントもアップか。思った通りだ。
But there was no one present in the early morning Shibuya to pay attention to the odd mumbling and behavior. The taxi drivers would speed off as soon as patrons boarded their cars, quickly forgetting about the mysterious sanitation workers. The drunks were hardly conscious, leaving them unable to see anything around them to begin with. Female nightlife workers who had just clocked out, finally free from the stress of smiling at repulsive drunkards, jumped into taxis to get home as soon as possible. Thus, not a single person was around to notice that the government had not scheduled any plans whatsoever for cleaning to take place that morning. Even after the weekend had passed, the uproar brought on by the fourth new-gen case, now dubbed the Vampire Incident, hadn't even come close to calming down. A man's corpse had been found with all of its blood taken out, leaving the surface of the body a sticky, inhuman shade of green. It had been discovered in a bathroom at Shibuya Station, a part of Inokashira Line. In addition, it was uncovered that a photograph of the corpse had been posted to an online auction, and considering the abnormality and brutality of the murder, it was inevitable that both the mass media and channel jumped on it. Special attention had been paid to the headline of the auction page, which read, "Type B blood in short supply." Tissue packs advertising an upcoming blood drive had been handed out in large quantities in front of Shibuya Station a few days prior to the incident. You are right about that. I remember now. And the exact same message had been written on them. You're right. So whoever committed this murder is in some way tied to this blood drive? And so it continues. Greetings, my name is Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of I almost said Higurashi, of Chaos Head Noah. So, I've been going over the events of the last episode in my head, and I'm still currently of the opinion that these new-gen murders and these suits in black that seem to be connected to this Nozomi organization are all somehow connected with each other. What the exact nature of the connection is yet, well, if it's anything, I would imagine it'd have something to do with precognitive abilities, like what Yua seems to think that Takumi has. Precognition has some role to play in all this. I think that much is pretty obvious at this point. But how it ties to the murders itself, well, the jury's still out on that one, I'm afraid. And then there's the fact that Fess seems to have a weapon that matches what I saw Pinkhair wielding in the opening cinematic, so that definitely tells me that there's more than just precognition involved, assuming that weapon is indeed magical in nature. So there's clearly a lot of stuff going on, is what I'm ultimately saying, but I still am not quite sure how it all fits together just yet. When I logged into ESO as Lizalette, as was often the case, 3 hours passed by in the blink of an eye. It had been 2 weeks since I'd last used her, but she made for a pretty good support, so I was feeling pretty satisfied. I left At Cafe in a good mood and started heading home. Center Guy was as packed and noisy as usual, which irritated me. The bright lights illuminating the streets from the various shops made it hard to believe it was nighttime. And at the end of the well-lit road, despite the crowds, I clearly saw her, causing me to stop dead in my tracks. That one girl. Well, I remember you. You were that one girl that asked me who I was in the school hall a couple weeks ago, or however long ago that was in this story at this point. And I see that you got a weapon of your own. In the midst of so many people, she glared directly at me. Wait a minute. You must have been the girl with the sword that he saw walking around earlier, towards the tail end of the last episode. You stalking me now, too? Takumi, you're getting awfully popular lately, aren't you? In the midst of so many people, she glared directly at me. Right smack in the middle of Center Guy, where people were coming and going without reprieve, where it was difficult to even walk straight. She stood still, resting the gigantic sword she carried on her shoulder. So, she's glaring daggers at me. She's got a big honking dagger in her right hand. Putting 2 and 2 together, I think it's pretty likely that she might be here to attack me. I say that with 70 to 80% certainty, with a 20% margin for error. She could be safeguarding me for all I know. Anyway, you gonna speak up? Tell me what you're doing here? Are you hostile? The spectacle was completely absurd. And yet, no one paid her sword any mind. The stream of people flowed right past her with no change in demeanor. Now that I find bizarre, now that you point it out. Why is no one reacting to her and her sword? She was the girl I'd seen at 107. She had been there when Nanami was dragging me around to buy a cell phone. The shape of her sword, her sume uniform, her long black hair, that's black, matched perfectly. Back then, she'd been standing at the top of the stairs in front of 107, watching the passerby come and go. I guess purple's the new black. And I remembered the sharpness of her glare. I had met her once before, at school. She had these almond-shaped eyes and clean-cut, model-like features, and yet they only served to make her seem all the more unapproachable. And it was all capped off by that long, silky black hair that stretched all the way down to her waist. She was Girl B, the one who had so rudely probed me in the corridors after school one day, asking me who I was. Come to think of it, why was she glaring at me? Thinking maybe it wasn't me she was looking at, I turned around. Usually when something like this happened, more often than not, they were just looking at someone who happened to be behind me. But that wasn't the case here. The one she was glaring at, her gaze filled with intense hostility, had to be me. I froze. I knew now what it felt like to be someone's prey. Glaring back was out of the question. Aw, why not? Be brave! I was always terrible at looking people in the eye, so I couldn't help but stare down at the pavement. Yeah, I guess that's true. You're a very social, awkward butterfly. I should run. Normally, I'd go home by taking a left at Scramble Crossing, where she was standing, and then I would end up next to Book Fat. But today, I head for the station instead. There were a lot of people there, but I'd rather that than deal with some scary 3D girl harassing me. Hell, she might even try to mug me. I think she's gonna do more than just mug you, but with that thing that she's got and all. If she's gonna do anything to us at all. Or maybe she was only feigning being alone, and she actually had several Dokuns lurking nearby, waiting for her to lure me in so they could beat the shit out of me. I don't know, I think she'd have no problem beating the shit out of you all by herself. Just a feeling. To be honest, they'd probably one-shot me. I think she could one-shot you. Like I'd fall for that. I swivel to the right, only to be caught completely off guard.
Oh. Eh?
Either you have a twin, or you have the ability to teleport. Either way, consider me both intrigued and mildly frightened. Somehow, the girl was right in front of me. Flustered, I turned around to look at Scramble Crossing. She was no longer there. I looked in front of me once again. The girl with the sword was still glaring at me, just as she had been before. What the hell? When'd she get around me? Lakes can only move so fast. That was practically teleportation. And besides, how could she have predicted I'd turn around in the first place? Well, she could just read your body movements, your body language. Look where your face is pointing as you start to move a certain direction, anticipate where you're going based on that, and snap! There she is. That's what I'd do if I had the power of teleportation. You gotta read your opponent.
Oi.
Oi! Her voice reached my ears with extreme clarity. I frantically looked around me. I wanted to think she was talking to someone else, even though I already knew full well who she was talking to. I searched for anyone else she could be directing that "hey you" toward. But obviously there was no one. A number of businessmen walking by glanced at Girl B inquisitively, only to realize she wasn't talking to them, and walked away. Girl B, who'd been standing there posingly the entire time, took a sudden step toward me. That was all the confirmation I needed. Girl B had been targeting me after all.
お前見えるのか
Yes. It's a very beautiful sword. Remarkable craftsmanship. Can I meet your swordsmith? Rude as ever. In my 17 years of life, I could probably count the number of times a girl had talked to me like this on one hand. Well, I guess there were times when Kimiura Tsubaki, aka Sunko, had talked to me like that, but that was in a tsundere kind of way. Alright, what's this? Tsundere. A girl who is usually aloof and acerbic, soon, but becomes affectionate, dere, when alone for romantic interest. However, the definition has become more broad recently. I don't know, I've seen my fair share of tsunderes that tend to act very aggressive with their love interests in order to hide their feelings. Including some very recent examples I've seen not too long ago. Granted, Sunko was just a 2D character from the eroge Tell Me doll. Of course it's from an eroge. Girl B kept getting closer and closer as those stupid thoughts raced through my head. Why does she feel so intimidating even though she's a girl? I wondered. Well, there's the fact that she's got a glare that could pierce through an armored tank, number one, and number two, she has a sword that probably also could pierce through an armored tank. But the reasons were simple. The sharp look in her eyes and the gigantic sword she was carrying. I almost said Schward. I don't know where I got the H from. For a sword, it had a fairly unique shape. It almost looks like a tuning fork, come to think of it. It was the kind of thing that operated on anime logic. It had an awesome design, but if you actually used it in real life, it'd be completely unusable. It had to be from some mecha anime. Had there been any mecha anime that started airing recently? Even though I knew it was a prop for some random anime cosplay, it still looked incredibly sharp and solid. Like if you even so much as touched it, it would slice your fingers clean off. Okay, so I want to voice this thought now that it just popped in my head. She asked me if I could see it, and I'm assuming it's in reference to her sword. And if that's the case, then, well, that right there would confirm why people aren't really reacting to her in any strange way. Because they can't see that sword. And yet I can? So, if I'm the only one that can see it besides her, the obvious follow-up question is, why? And I got a theory already for why that's the case, and I think it also has something to do with my precognitive abilities. And if that's the case, then I guess whatever causes these weapons to manifest is also related to related to ESP in general. Anyway, like if you even so much as touched it, it would slice your fingers clean off. What a strange sword.
見えるのかと聞いている。
Girl B had already cut the distance between us by 2 meters. If she swung her sword, it would hit me. Flustered, I took a step back, but it was too late. Girl B closed the distance further and further. She'd actually swung the sword. Carrying on the spot, I covered my head. You know what? I'm going to be merciful this time. I'm going to let you delude yourself into thinking something happy to deal with the stress of the moment. If I hadn't dodged it, it would have hit my head for sure. I doubt it would have cut me, but with that kind of force behind it, it would have given me a concussion and permanently dented my skull. I hated pain. Don't we? Well, there are masochists, so never mind. I was so shaken that my speech got all messed up. Girl B looked down at me coldly. Man, she was really close. Her bare legs were right in front of me. And at this angle, I could almost see up her skirt. Priorities, man. She's threatening you. Get horny later.
やはり見えるのか。
すいません。見てないです。
I frantically lowered my gaze. I knew for a fact she was going to accuse me of looking at her panties. But I didn't see them. I swear. I almost saw them, but I didn't. Really. Besides, 3D panties don't get me off anyway. The only panties I fap to are either 2D or belong to figures. TMI, my friend. TMI.
嘘だ。絶対見た。さっきからチラチラ見てただろ。
当に見てない。
ふん。
And then, for some reason I couldn't comprehend, Girl B slipped off one of her shoes, and then she began to take off one of her knee socks. Hey, Takumi. Be sure to thank me for this later. After all, I'm helping you de-stress. In the midst of this, the area under her skirt threatened to become visible, yet again, leaving me at a loss for where to look. I tried to find an opening to escape, but Girl B refused to take her eyes off me as she continued removing her sock. The now barefoot girl assumed an imposing stance, curving her lips in a scornful manner. Suddenly, Girl B's warm, bare foot slipped and stepped directly on my crotch. The sudden humiliation rendered me hopelessly embarrassed.
ほら、どうだ？グリ。
やめ。
The people walking around didn't even look at us. Why couldn't there be at least one person who came to my rescue? What a cold society we lived in.
だんだん大きくなってきたぞ。
Having this happen to me, and right smack in the middle of Center Guy. It wasn't mortifying. But I was enjoying it. I don't know, I think I'm enjoying it more than you are, but not in the way that you are, if that makes sense. Oh, come on! Over already?
見えるんだな。
Come on! I was getting a good laugh out of that.
ディソードが。
When I came back to myself, I couldn't immediately grasp what was going on, leaving me to blankly stare up at Girl B. She was still wearing her shoes, and she wasn't stepping on my crotch or anything. What the? Had that been a delusion? So she wasn't trying to accuse me of seeing her panties. At any rate, a D sword. Or DI sword? The hell is that? I'm gonna go with D. It was the first time I'd ever heard that word. Girl B had said it was a sword, and whatever she was carrying was definitely shaped like a sword, but why was she asking me if I could see it? I decided to just nod. I mean, obviously I could see it. There'd be something wrong with me if I couldn't. Lugging around a sword that large and conspicuous, and Center Guy no less. I'd be willing to accept it if this was Akiba, but in Shibuya of all places?
そうか。お前も集められたんだな。
Gathered. Who? And by who? Well, if I had to guess, maybe by Nozomi, whoever they are. At the very least, I was definitely here voluntarily.
エラーを見たことがあるか。
In Japanese, please. Alright, what's this? A teasing phrase used online message boards to tell an incomprehensible poster to please post comprehensibly. Ah, so it's basically the equivalent of in English. Got it. Was what I wanted to say. But unsurprisingly, I wasn't brave enough. Then again, if I said the wrong thing, she'd probably stab me, so I don't know. I was with that train of thought a few minutes ago, but currently, not so much right now. Seems to me like she's just asking questions. Regardless, this chick has been spouting nothing but nonsense ever since she first opened her mouth.
見たら教えろ。
After she said that, Girl B turned around. Her skirt fluttered in the breeze, and I could almost see her panties. I hurriedly shut my eyes. You know, if the average person around here can't actually see the sword like we can they at least see her posture? Like, schoolgirl holding her arm out as if she's holding something, but there's nothing there. I mean, wouldn't that draw at least a little bit of attention? Yes? No? I mean, I'm the kind of person that would notice a detail like that personally, but I guess I don't know about other people.
私は3年の青井瀬名。駅前の電車にいる。
Aoi Sena, huh? I opened my eyes. The girl calling herself Sena had vanished. I was completely stunned, and it wasn't until I arrived back at my base that I realized I hadn't understood a single goddamn word she said. That's okay. I think I might have. Maybe. Despite everything going on, I had to go to school 3 times this week. Somebody kill me. Pink hair! You hear that? He wants someone to kill him! Get over here! A mysterious screech resounded from far away. The sudden nature of it made me jump. And then I slowly took in the direction it came from. Wait a freaking minute. Nozomi is his kid sister's name, right? Did I just confuse her name with the badge of that those suits in black wear? I need to... You know what? I'm just going to look it up real quick here in some of the previous episodes, because I don't want to keep making that mistake if that's the case. Nozomi. The badge that he was wearing said Nozomi. So, I know that for a fact right this minute, so just wanted to double check and confirm that. A mysterious screech resounded from far away. The sudden nature of it made me jump. And when I slowly looked in the direction it came from... Well, speaking of the little sister...
Oni!
Nanami rushed toward me with a staggering speed. Nanami, Nanami. Nanami Nozomi. Nana, Nozu. I think I got it now. Nanami rushed toward me with staggering speed. I tried to run away, but it was too late. She'd already circled around me and blocked my path. She always did have amazing reflexes. Well, someone has to. You clearly didn't inherit it from your parents.
ちょっと、なんで妹見て逃げるの?
Maybe because you're incredibly annoying?
あ、そうやってすぐ黙るし。
Damn it. Why did you decide to go to Sume of all places? That decision had done nothing but cause me endless pain and suffering. Whenever she ran into me on the way to school, she always stuck her nose in my business without fail.
ねえねえ、携帯どう？使ってる？使ってないでしょ。買ってからもう何日か経ってるけど、一度も家にかけてこないもんね。
Doing my best to break free, I started speed walking, but Nanami was determined to keep up.
家に生存報告の電話ぐらいしなよ。そのために買ったんだから。
She's so dutiful.
どうしても嫌なら、そのナナの携帯にかけるだけでもいいからさ。 お母さん心配してるんだからね。そもそもちゃんとご飯食べてんの？どうせコンビニ弁当ばっかなんでしょ。やっぱお兄に一人暮らしは無理なんだよ。家に帰ってきなよ。ナナがどんな気持ちでお兄の様子見に行ってるか分かってる？いつも心配でしょうがないんだからね。
Shut the fuck up! What the hell's your problem? Are you my mom or something? And stop talking about shit like this when we're on the side of the road. It's humiliating. I had already been feeling like shit. Yet this bitch somehow managed to come along and make me feel even worse. Now, I want to apologize to anybody who's listening with earphones. Hopefully my mic didn't, yeah, hopefully I got my mic set up here where the audio didn't crackle or anything when I raised my voice like that. At least it shouldn't. I mean, I just saw all caps, exclamation marks at the end, so it was just kind of a reflex. Didn't have time to really stop and readjust anything. So, apologize if I blew out some of your eardrums. There was nothing on this earth more embarrassing than walking to school with your younger sister. I don't know, I can think of worse things. The situation came about quite often in Eroge. Hell, I'd always longed for it to happen to me. Then what the hell are you complaining about, you perv? It's kind of happening right now. But Nanami was nothing compared to 2D little sisters. Less than nothing. Oh! Okay, I believe you. Damn it, world. Give me a cuter younger sister. A slightly tense atmosphere hung in the air between us as we walked side by side towards school. I looked at Nanami to see if there was any chance of escape before we reached the gate. Even though she had been yammering on and on just a bit ago, she had fallen completely silent, now walking with an absent-minded look on her face. It even looked like her eyes weren't really focused on the road, but that was probably just my imagination. Her footsteps were unsteady. Something must be wrong with her, I suspected. She kept on swaying back and forth, and about a moment later, she stumbled right out onto the road. Right as a car came racing toward her, Nanami, are you, Takumi, get her out of the road! Panicking, I grabbed Nanami's arm and yanked her back. Good boy! The horn of a car blared as it sped by. She just barely avoided getting run over. Did you space out? Or something? Nanami blinked a few times and tilted her head to the side.
Nana, 今なんであんなこと？あれ?
I was at a loss for words. She was an honest-to-God fucking idiot. She didn't even understand her own actions. And for the record, that wasn't Moe. Not even close.
何やってるんだよ。車にひかれたいのか。
車なんて来てた
？Something's really off about this. For her to be that out of it all of a sudden, and considering everything else that's going on, I wonder, is this in any way tied to the new gen madness? Yes, there was a car! What was up with this whole fucking ditz of a sister?
ねえお兄、今ヒュンヒュンヒュンっていう音聞こえなかった？
What? What was she talking about? I hadn't heard jack shit.
その音聞いてたらね、なんだかぼんやりした感覚になって。で、あそこに。
Nanami pointed at the corner of the road.
お父さんとお母さんが立ってて、ナナを呼んでたの。
When I looked where Nanami was pointing, I didn't see our parents. Instead, I saw a creepy man standing in that exact spot. He wore a plaid shirt, fingerless gloves, jeans rolled at the bottom, and white sneakers. He had a rucksack on his back that was filled to bursting. He looked like an otaku plucked straight out of Akihabara. Clapping off his outfit, he was holding a video camera in one hand. Did he have a voyeur fetish or some shit?
おい、他人を指さすな。
God, what a rude-ass sister. You're one to talk. Besides, it makes no sense for our parents to be here in the first place. They lived in Shimokitazawa after all. Where is that?
おかしいな。確かに呼ばれたのに。
The man started looking our way. Then he pointed the camera lens at us. What the hell is wrong with him?
行くぞ、ナナミ。
Frightened, I quickly ran from the scene, leaving Nanami behind.
あ、お兄、ちょっと待ってよ。
I continued to ignore Nanami until we got to school, upon which I ditched her to walk down the noisy-as-ever hallway toward my classroom. When walking down the hallway, stay on the edge. Don't walk too fast or too slow. Don't make eye contact with anyone. Those were the 3 rules I always followed. That was how I didn't stand out in school. I transformed myself into an existence akin to air itself. That was the secret to my success. Why do I feel like we've had this internal monologue before?
Yo, Taku.
Oh yeah, back in episode 1. And wait a minute, no. He didn't greet us out in the hallway, he greeted us out in the classroom. In the classroom. Yet people like him definitely made it hard for it to actually work. Catching up to me from behind, Misumi-kun greeted me in his normal, overly friendly fashion by clapping a hand on my shoulder.
Oi Sena.
So, Misumi, been enjoying that new album you got?
挨拶ぐらいしろって。ま、お前がそういうやつだってのは分かってるけどよ。なあ、この前 D 組の女子の話したよな。めったに学校来ねえけど、すげえ可愛い女子がいるって。その子、岸本綾瀬って名前なんだけどよ。
Kishimoto Ayase.
実はその岸本に関してすげえ発見したんだ。
Misumi-kun suddenly lowered his voice, then looked around us. It was just gonna be something vulgar, wasn't it? I'm already tired of his BS. I almost let out a sigh.
フェスいるだろ。フェス。
But what he said made me bite it back. Are you gonna say that this girl and Fess are somehow connected with each other by any chance?
その岸本ってのがフェスなんだよ。
Well, I guess I was kind of on the mark.
俺マジビビったぜ。まさかフェスがうちの学校の生徒だなんてよ。
Wait, if she's a student at our school, then why was she wearing a different uniform in that delusion we saw? We just assumed that was a uniform.
しかも俺らとタメだってことだぜ。
For whatever reason, Misumi-kun leaned his upper body out the window, then gazed up toward the sky with a look of pure ecstasy.
運命ってきっとこういうことを言うんだな。
This was the 3rd floor. If he were to slip, he'd fall to the ground and break his neck, ending his life just like that. My anxiety steadily climbed as I watched him. Misumi-kun leaned farther and farther out the window, before switching his gaze down toward the entrance beneath it.
噂をすればなんとやらだタク。岸本を発見した。もうすぐここに来るぜ。
With so many coincidences piling up one after the other, maybe it really was fate. Not that I cared. Yeah, sure you don't care.
よし、待ち構えてやる。見てろタク。俺のナンパ術ってのを見せてやるよ。
I have a feeling you're gonna get rejected within the first sentence or two. He was brimming with self-confidence. Man, alpha males like him really were impressive. Picking up girls and all that was a completely different world for me. It wasn't even worth trying. A few moments later, Kishimoto Ayase appeared. He was just like Misumi-kun said. She really was Fess. I'd made sure of that while observing her from a safe distance. I still couldn't believe she was in the same year as us. She was wearing a Sume uniform. A distinct aloofness came from her expression as she walked slowly down the hallway. It gave off a completely different impression than one she had on stage. Back then, her apathetic tone, despite her apathetic tone, I felt a sense of power and liveliness emanating off of her. But now, the aura she gave off felt listless and unapproachable. Ignoring this, likely deliberately, Misumi-kun strolled over to her with the same overly friendly attitude he always had with me, then casually stopped right next to her.
Yo, Kishimoto-san. Oh, hayo.
Whoa. His smile was so invigorating, despite being so obviously fake. I had no idea how he was able to act like that around someone he barely knew. That's why we love him. That's why we admire him. Then again, I didn't really want to be him.
あ、俺、三角大輔。よろしく。おっと、初対面とか思ってるだろう。でも違うんだな、これが。俺さ、こないだ、ファンタズムのライブ行ったんだよね。だから、君に会うのは2度目。で、その時君の歌声に、こう、なんつうの？ビビってきちゃったんだ。
Well, I'm impressed. You've gone well past more than 2 sentences, and she hasn't promptly shot you down yet. Lasted longer than I thought you would.
別に俺、ミーハーとかじゃねえよ。惹かれたのはさ、詩とか君の可愛さとか、そういうところもあるけど、でも何より一番すげえって思ったのは、やっぱバンドとしての完成度っつうか。
She's either really patient or she's just completely ignoring you.
あの音あっての君の歌声っつうの？ちなみに俺も実はバンドやりたいなって思っててさ、よかったらああいういいバンドメンバーを見つけるコツとか、バンドの先輩としての心得みたいなもの教えてくんねえかな。あ、今すぐじゃ迷惑だろうから。そうだな、放課後とか暇？どっかで二人きりでじっくり話さない？
Misumi-kun just kept on talking and talking with no breaks. His tone was different than usual, and it was obviously fake. Not only that, but he wasn't hitting on her directly, instead using the band angle in order to invite her somewhere nonchalantly. I never heard of this fun fact about Misumi-kun wanting to start a band before. It had to be a lie. He was willing to go that far in order to win some points, or force a flag rather than obtaining it naturally. But... oh, another delusion choice. Or trigger, excuse me. Fess didn't even so much as look at him. Yep, She's ignoring you, buddy. Mr. Alpha. I want another good laugh, so give it to me. She simply continued to walk down the hallway at the same pace, as if not a sound had reached her ears.
なあ、聞いてる？
Suddenly, Fess stopped in her tracks. Her slightly lower gaze slowly rose up, and then she looked at me. Huh? Me? You know, I wonder if I should actually change it to the red here to keep it consistent with the first time I made a choice of her. What to do? I think I will just keep it green for now. Just see what happens. Huh? Me? Come to think of it, the same thing happened at the concert. It felt like Fess was staring directly at me. Just in general, I've been stared at by a whole bunch of freaky 3D girls over the past couple weeks. God, what the hell was going on? Was I becoming popular now?
Watashi, 好きな人がいるのよ。
え？マジ？何？それって俺のこと？
Here we go.
そこの人。
そこ？
Over where? Who is she talking about? She wasn't pointing anywhere, nor doing anything that would clue us in as to who she was referring to. Follow her eyes. She just kept looking at me, and only me. Wait, was the person she liked me?
この前、ライブに来てたわね。
Fess began to walk toward me, still refusing to avert her gaze. My surroundings began to buzz. Everyone was listening in on the unexpected confession of Shibuya's famous songstress, Fess.
いや、俺もライブに行って。
一目で悟ったわ。
Fess wasn't listening to a single thing Misumi-kun said. She grabbed my necktie with one hand and pulled me in close. Close enough that I could clearly feel her breath against my skin. This was not a distance you could maintain with someone you were close friends with, nor was it one to be shared between family members. It was a distance, a closeness, reserved only for lovers.
君が私の運命の人だって。
With nary even a smile, Fess slowly brushed my cheek with her fingertips. The sheer seductiveness of the gesture sent chills down my spine. I was entranced. Fess had me. I couldn't take my eyes off her.
決めたわ。私、君のお嫁さんになる。
That declaration was so far removed from the normal aloofness and decadence that Fess always carried. My God, this cheering. And yet the sheer contrast between them proved unbearably cute. Everyone around us was effectively throbbing with excitement upon hearing Fess's proposal to me. Misumi-kun was so utterly mortified upon losing to me that he came crashing down to his knees, crestfallen.
僕の意見は無視ですか？
嫌なの？
嫌じゃないです。
It felt like I was being swept away by a river of temptation. If I got to marry a beautiful girl like her, I would win at life right then and there. And thus began the heart-pounding love story of me and Fess. Oh, come on. Don't I get to at least see her magically change into a bridal outfit? Like that ever happened. While I was over there drowning in my moronic delusions, Fess was murmuring something in a low voice, only to up and disappear soon after.
自信なくすぜ。くそー。
She was murmuring something I could have only heard if I selected the other choice. Then I think I might have made a mistake. Misumi-kun was sulking, having been completely and utterly disregarded. Considering how she was able to deter an alpha male of his caliber, like he was no lower than a spur on the boot of hers, to deter him like he was nothing more than a typical Monsieur. Maybe the other team was what Fess preferred, a true Yuri connoisseur. Yuri, an archetype that refers to women that see other women as romantic interests. Very broad but accurate answer. Well, succinct is what I meant to say, not broad.
それはすごくいいスールです。
Especially if he's a lolly type character like Nanami. That's the stuff.
あんな不愛想な女、もう二度と相手にしてやるもんかよ。あー、うぜえ。だいたい何が剣を見つけろだ。わけわかんねえ。
Finding a sword, huh?
剣。
ああ、岸本がそう言ってただろ。
Unfortunately, no, and I'm kind of regretting it now.
剣を見つけろ。そうすれば救われるって。
Salvation.
なあ、タク。ファンタズムの歌にそんな歌詞でもあるのか？
A sword. Could that possibly be referring to that mic stand thing she'd been using during the concert? I'd say so. Come to think of it, there'd been another person a couple days ago that interrogated me about a sword. That Sena girl. The one who was absolutely terrifying. I actually thought she was going to slice me in two. The sword she'd been carrying was a different shape than the one Fess had, but they had a similar aura to them. Could the two of them be connected somehow? I didn't know. There was way too much shit I didn't know. Shogun, the demon girl, Yua, Fess, Sena, swords. Don't forget Nazumi. Or Nozumi, rather. As was my old habit, I jotted down a list of all the things I didn't know enough about in my head. I meant to put myself as one final item on the list, but I decided against it. I think you should. I was completely normal. No, you are not. It was the stuff happening around me that wasn't. That was the most obvious conclusion. Was Fess my ally? Or my enemy? It would be nice to know at least that much. Problem was, I didn't have the courage to ask her. I think next time I get a delusion trigger with Fess, if I get one at all, I'll keep it strictly in the red and see what happens. Today, I headed straight for Anime 8 with Animate. I'll get that pronunciation right eventually. Without stopping by At Cafe. The reason, of course, was to finally pick up my long-awaited Bloodtoon figure, Seiratan, post-awakening version. Come to think of it, weren't we originally going to pick one up with Yua? While I was in checkout, Yua's face crossed my mind for a second, but I caught off those thoughts immediately. I glanced at the Seiratans that were on display in order to attract customers, but since the sculptor was Kijima Yoshio, not a single word needed to be said about their quality. I had to get home fast so I could enjoy her every nook and cranny as soon as possible. As long as I could admire Seiratan's face every now and then, and while I didn't play ESO, I was content. You better hope no one goes into your base and decides to pour one of your many liters of soda all over the hard drive and monitor and short-circuit the whole thing. That would be tragic. So why did the entire third dimension do nothing but bring me trouble? It plagued me even now. I headed straight for my base in high spirits, forgetting all about Fess and swords and whatever else, and practically skipping the entire way home. Well, look who it is. I was beginning to wonder when you would actually approach me. When I was about 50 meters away, I encountered two men who carried an unmistakably abnormal air about them. I attempted to pass by them without making eye contact, but they were very clearly watching me.
そこの君、ちょっといいかい?
The first of the two to call out to me was a dull older man, one that looked like he belonged to a cycling racetrack gambling his life away. Ouch. His hair was a mess, and his unshaven beard was somehow worse. He wore a worn-out old suit, a softly tied necktie, and dress shoes that didn't show a trace of being cared for. All of it came together to form an unparalleled example of a man who'd failed to get ahead in life. For some reason, the fact he was flapping a fan at himself only served to further emphasize how pathetic he looked. His expression was similarly languid, his mouth curled into a flippant smile. And yet, when our eyes met for a split second, I knew then that he wasn't really smiling. There was nowhere to run. As I searched for something to reply to them with, the two men made their way up to me.
おじさん、こういうものなんだけどさ。
The older man took out a black badge from his suit and held it out toward me. It was the same kind of police badge you'd see in various TV shows, but it was obviously the first time I'd seen a real one. They finally come for me. They could only be here for one thing. The crucifixion case.
ちょっと話を聞かせてもらっていいかい? もちろん強制じゃないんだけどね。あ、いやいや、そんな身構えなくていいよ。本当話聞くだけだから。
The way he spoke didn't show a trace of trying to intimidate me. The other, younger detective, however, wore a strict expression as he nonchalantly moved to block my path. Sweat started running down my neck. If I made any wrong moves, they'd likely suspect me of being the culprit and haul me down to the station right then and there. I didn't want that to happen. I resigned myself, then gave a small nod.
君さ、俗に言うニュージェネレーションの狂気って知ってるかな?
I knew it. I wiped the beads of sweat off my forehead, then gave him a nod in reply.
じゃあ、3番目に起きた通称貼り付け殺人事件も当然知ってるよね。この近所で起きたわけなんだけども、その目撃者を探してるわけよ。あ、ちなみに君、名前聞かせてくれる?
A gulp forced itself down my throat. This wasn't some bait and switch shit, was it? Or maybe they were a bunch of con men who were only acting like policemen, while in reality they were just mining my personal information so they could put it to ill use. They could even be the demon girl's underlings.
あれ答えてくんないのかな
If they started to suspect me, there'd be no end to it. What should I do? If I gave them a fake name, they might arrest me immediately.
ああ、個人情報保護法とか気にしてるおじさんそんなに信用なさそうに見えるかな
Kinda. I'll say. Either way, his friendly way of speaking had to be just an act.
西条匠
In the end, I figured there was no way around it. That was in my best interest to answer honestly.
西条匠くんでいいかい
I shook my head.
本当に
Huh? What was that supposed to mean? I'd purposely given him my real name, so what the hell was that reaction?
いや、これは失礼。今のは気にしないでくれ。
The detective's unnatural laughter rang through the quiet residential area. Just hurry up and let me go already.
その制服、水明だよね。何年生
Did I have to answer stuff like that?
に
悪いね。聞き取れなかった。おじさん、もう年だから耳遠くてさ。もう一度言ってくれる
2年生
ああ、2年生ね。どうも。で、西条さん。聞きたいことってのは、先月の29日の午後6時から10時頃にかけて、どこで何してたかなんだわ。
Were they asking me for my alibi? Did that mean they suspected me? That's ridiculous.
いや、別に君を疑ってるわけじゃなくてさ。その時間にこの近くにいたなら、怪しい人物を見かけたとか、何か音を聞いたとか、ないかと思ってね。
For some reason, the way the guy talked was really starting to get to me. Maybe talking in a way that deliberately agitated the subject was some kind of interrogation technique. Of course, I had seen someone suspicious. I'd seen someone very clearly, with my own two eyes. But I wasn't sure if it would be a good idea to tell that to this shady old guy. What would I do if I told him, and then the demon girl came back for revenge? You know, if she was out to kill you right from the get-go, like as you've been fearing, wouldn't she have done it by now already? Or at least made an appearance by now? With an attempt at your life? Because the longer that I don't see her, the less and less I begin to doubt that. Well, I mean, the more and more I begin to doubt that she actually wants to kill me. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong about that too. It seems like the demon girl was letting me run free for now. But she still had Shogun on her side, and he was equipped with precognitive powers. So by that logic, that must have meant that the demon girl had some sort of insane power as well. And if that was true, and I told the police about it, she might find out about it immediately because of her clairvoyance or whatever, and then she'd come to kill me right after.
なあ、西条君。今日はそんなに暑いか
My heart rate skyrocketed. If I stayed silent like this, they would absolutely suspect me of being the criminal. But at the same time, I was scared that if I lied and said I didn't see anything, they'd see right through me. The older man fanned me a couple times with his fan, A cool breeze rustled my hair. Well, here's how I would see it, Takumi. The fact that they're approaching me at all about this would tell me that they would, despite the fact that I never even told anybody about anything I saw, save for I don't even think you told your online pen pals about this at all either, come to think of it. So you pretty much told nobody about what you saw. So the fact that you have these two detectives showing up out of the blue to talk to you about that specific date and that specific time where you witnessed that murder, that tells me that somehow they knew you were there. So at that point, I would just say screw it and just be honest, because I mean they clearly already knew I was there. So what would be the point in lying about it?
もうすっかり秋だ。汗かくほど暑いとは思えんけどな。まあ体質ってのは人それぞれだしな。
Ironic, considering he was the one walking around with a fan. But he was right. It wasn't all that hot out today. It was perfect, actually. The kind of temperature you'd actually enjoy spending time in. I wiped the sweat off my forehead with my sleeve countless times now.
僕はやってない。
おお。
The look in his eyes shifted. I realized I'd slipped up, but I had no idea what exactly had tipped him off.
何をやっていないんだ?
They definitely suspected me. I had to answer honestly. Staring at the manhole cover right beneath my feet, I began to blurt out everything.
見たんです。貼り付けの現場、そこに女がいたんです。で、血まみれにして死体の前に杭がたくさん死体に突き刺さってて、あれ500本は絶対超えてた。異常だ。死体がハリネズミみたいになってて、女は僕を見てよかったって笑ってた。あの女は悪魔だ。人間じゃない。ニュージェネの母親には人を超えた存在なんだ。ヨシとかすごい超能力とか使う。
Upon saying that much, I realized the two detectives were staring at me with their eyes wide. Maybe they didn't believe me. Thinking that, I clamped my mouth shut.
悪魔か。なるほどね。そいつは参考になったよ。
本当です。
ああ、分かってる分かってる。貴重な情報だよ。
僕を警察で守ってください。
その前にその女の年は分かる？服装とか顔の特徴とか。
水明
って水明学園？
その制服着てた。
つまり西条君と同じ学校の生徒か。
After simmering on that for a moment, the old man grinned. He then muttered something that could be either an actual question or just him mumbling to himself.
何年生だろうな、その女子高生は。何年生だと思う？西条君。
わからない。
じゃあなんて名前だと思う？
わからないよ。僕はあの悪魔の名前なんて知らない。
その女の身長、体重、あとついでにスリーサイズについては。
What was up with this old man? Was he screwing with me? How was I supposed to know even a single one of those? Do you think I could instantly get all those measurements from a single glance? Oh yeah, sure. I absolutely had such a stupid power. Oh wait, no I didn't. Because this isn't a goddamn rom-com manga!
なるほど。黙ってるってことはわからないってことだね。結構。参考になったよ。これは本部に戻って検討しないといかんな。
先輩、マジっすか?
Waving his hand to silence the dumbfounded younger detective, the older man signaled something to him with his eyes.
西条君、ちなみに連絡先とか教えてもらえる？
なんで
I knew they wouldn't believe me. They wanted to label me as some nut job and falsely accuse me of everything.
ああ、だって悪魔だっけ？そいつから君を守らなくちゃならないだろ？
Oh, so that was why he'd asked. Oh, thank God, they actually believed me. If I could get the police to protect me, it'd be incredibly reassuring. Yes, the enemy was a demon, so the police would only get one shot if they went up against her, but it was better than being unarmed. Feeling slightly relieved, I took out the phone I had bought a few days prior and showed him my phone number. The younger detective scribbled it down in his notebook.
いや、忙しいところありがとうさ。君の身の安全は警察が保証するから、何の心配もしなさんな。じゃあ、また何か聞きたいことができたら電話するかもしれないんで、その時はよろしくね。イルスとか使わないでくれよ。今のところ警察にとっては君は重要な人物だからな。
え？
君の目撃証言は事件解決の重要な手がかりになりそうだ。じゃあな。
The two detectives bowed their heads and promptly took off. After taking a glance over at me at his shoulder, the younger detective whispered something to the older one. The older man paid him no mind and simply continued to walk. I let out a long, long sigh. That was intense. It was the first time I'd ever been questioned by actual detectives. I'd acted pretty suspicious without meaning to, but they believed me anyway. Somehow. God, I'd give anything for the police to arrest a demon girl. Then again, the police didn't have any special powers, so maybe I should keep my expectations low. I would say that's actually smart. I then noticed that my mouth had gone incredibly dry without me realizing, so I redirected myself to the nearest vending machine and got myself a cola.
Wow, 覚醒バージョン残すエロすぎパンモノじゃんかだがそれがいい
Well, I'm glad to see that you're enjoying your latest purchase, I guess.
顔かわいいよ顔原作再現度はいまいちだけどプンプンと漂うエロスが木島義雄らしさだよなこれはこれでグッジョブ上着キャストオフとかこの角度からじゃほとんど全裸にしか見えんひょー髪の動きがいいよな覚醒バージョンは髪が命って持論があるわけだが間違ってなかったな
You know, I could understand freaking out this much over an anime character's nudity when you're a young teenager and you're just getting into that for the first time, but I mean, after you've seen it for the first few dozen times, I mean, it stops being special. You stop freaking out about it, you know what I mean? Like, so, how old are you again, Takumi? Just out of interest.
さて、それではお待ちかねパンツいってみようかどれどれV ゾーンの作り込みいいよシワの付き方リアルだしってこれスージーさんすげえマジですげえクオリティ高すぎ
Now there is a word I haven't heard used in a long ass time. Awesome sauce. A word used to express excitement or appreciation on the internet. A very high compliment.
これセーラタン5作目にして早くも最高傑作爆誕じゃねえこれ以上すごいのなんて出せないってマジでやっぱ木島は神
Didn't you say that didn't you say that the fact that they based the figure's appearance on the anime version was kind of a letdown? So would basing the figure on the on the manga or novel, light novel version be better by that metric? Isn't that how they could top it? I carefully stood my new Saratan next to my monitor. Sarah, you're so sexy, Sarah. Simply looking over at her made me grin uncontrollably. Life was good. I logged on and immediately started posting my impressions of my new Saratan figure on @channel. When I finished doing that, I went to check my email, then checked to see if any of my friends on Freepara had posted any updates. Probably new gen stuff.
おっと、前触れ申請来てるじゃん。誰これ？セーラコミの人か。
A friend request, huh?
はいはい、ゲイですよ。
Now then, time for ESO. But the very second I thought that, I felt chills on the nape of my neck. It was the gaze, complete with its usual intense presence. Whose eyes are those eyes? Damn it, this was not the time. When had I first started feeling the gaze? I'd long since forgotten. I'm gonna go with red. It slithered its way into each and every part of my life, bothering the shit out of me all the way. There were a lot of things that disturbed my peace, but the gaze was right up there with me as the most irritating thing I had to deal with. Fine then, let's do it. It'll take more than that to make me turn around, game. Still fixated on my monitor, I tried to think of some cool lines you'd hear in a manga.
貴様、出てこい。僕の目をごまかせるとでも思ったか。甘いな。
バレちゃった。
当たり前だ。僕の後ろに立つなと何度言えば。
Huh? Was that a woman's voice just now? Indeed it was! And I'm not seeing the screen go all wobbly right now, so is this actually happening? Goosebumps stood up all over my body. Had the reclusive owner of the gaze finally decided to show themselves? Was that even possible? Should I turn around and see who it was? What if she attacked me the moment I did? It was a fairly cute sounding voice, but what if, in reality, a monster far removed from anything human was standing there? You have a point. Sometimes the things with the cutest voices can often be the most deadly. No, no, no. If that were the case, wouldn't that mean they were getting ready to attack me right now? If I didn't turn around now, I wouldn't even notice if they killed me. Maybe I should see someone else to see if they'd respond. It was possible that the voice I'd heard was just a hallucination or a delusion or something, so that I'd help confirm it. I mean, I talked to my Saratan figure all the time in my head. It had to be the same thing. I tried to be bold and say, "Who are you?" But I hesitated. If I was to provoke the attacker, it could have very easily spelled the end for me. It could have caused her to finally stop waiting and attack me. I don't think she's here to attack you. Call it a hunch. So many delusions ran through my head that I found myself completely paralyzed. What should I do? Maybe the whole thing was a product of my own design, and I was just being the world's biggest dumbass. I swear, if the owner of the gaze wasn't there, and I'd just been sitting here trembling in fear over nothing, I was gonna kill myself.
あれ、タク？固まってる？
It wasn't hallucination or delusion after all. There was someone right behind me. Startled, I reflexively turned around. Well, look who it is!
どうも
The demon girl! The girl sitting on the sofa was undeniably the same one I'd seen at the Kruger fiction crime scene. And now, for some reason I couldn't comprehend, she was just standing there, looking at me, smiling. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Oh fuck! She'd finally come to kill me. It had to be because of the detectives I talked to. She'd seen me do it for clairvoyance. After that, she'd gone on to infiltrate my base without making a sound, take up a position which she could kill me at any moment, and then revel in it as I cried and screamed in terror. It couldn't be anything else. Don't kill me, I tried to scream, but I was too terrified to make a sound.
コンビーフ
Tilting her neck to the side, the demon girl unleashed a strange incantation. It had to be some demonic tongue. She was cursing me. In hopes of gaining as much distance as possible from her, I went to hide underneath my desk. Problem was, I was so shaken that I ended up bashing my head into the edge of it, rendering me unable to move as I writhed in pain.
何やってるのタク今すっごい音したよコツンって
Even now, the demon girl was keeping up her amused smile. But it had to be a trap. One built to lull me into a false sense of security. The second I let my guard down, she'd swoop in and end me. Or maybe she already had that curse she placed on me a minute ago. In a few days, my entire body would suddenly start spewing blood everywhere, and I'd die right then and there.
頼むよ殺さないで
I got down on my hands and knees, cradling my head between my arms. Those goddamn detectives had completely fucked me over!
警察に喋ったこと謝るから
警察
それに話してもちっとも信じてもらえてなかったし
It was a lie meant to buy me some time. The older detective had said he'd guarantee my safety. If he was doing his job properly, he'd have sent at least one officer over to my place. While thinking that, I suddenly realized I'd given the old man my phone number, but I hadn't given him my address.
ビシッ
Suddenly, the demon girl assumed a pose resembling a salute. And what was just as, if not more strange, was what she said. It was almost like a sound effect. Was it another demonic curse?
独り言はやめるべし殺さないでとか警察がどうとか私には何のことかさっぱりだよ
What? Was she trying to play dumb? Or was this her roundabout way of threatening me? In actuality, she was saying, forget the truth. Act as if nothing ever happened. What the hell was she thinking? Had she come here to kill me?
ほら立てる立とう
Well, sweet of you to offer. The demon girl got up from the couch and reached her hand out to me. Her expression was so gentle, and now that I was seeing her up close, she was actually pretty cute. Damn it, I was letting her get to me. Stop acting like a goddamn idiot! Was I seriously calling a demon pretty cute? Hey, if a demon's pretty cute, she's pretty cute. She was a murderer. She used Yua and Shogun to trap me. Now she'd come to finish me off herself. If she wanted to kill you, I think she would have done it already. Don't trust her. I'd already learned my lesson back with Yua. I'd never make the same mistake again. I refuse to take her hand. Don't be deceived by this demon girl's smile. She was a demon trying to tempt me. If I gave in to that temptation, I'd die. Trust no one. Don't believe anything. Don't believe anything anyone says.
だって見たんだ。お前が人を殺してるとこ。
あのさ、タク、それかなりひどいこと言ってるって気づいてる？
So, are you saying you didn't kill that professor?
まさか殺人犯呼ばわりされるなんてね。
What's she gonna do with me?
ニュージェネの。
Just like that guy in the fourth case. Was she gonna...
殺すんでしょう。それとも岩とか将軍とかがいる場所に連れてって。
ユア？将軍？誰それ？
Maybe the three of them had decided to work together. That way, I wouldn't be able to fight back when they beat me to death.
そんなのやだ。助けて。
じゃあね、私を殺人犯扱いしなければ助けてあげる。
So that was her true goal.
そんなビビらないでよ。いちいち私がへこむようなリアクションしてくれるよね。
お願いだ。もう二度と誰にも喋らないから。だから見逃して。
もしもーし、タク、ちょっと落ち着こう。
This bitch, acting like we were close or something. Calling me Taku and shit. Yeah, that's one thing that I've really been curious about. Like, how do you know who I am? Wait, actually, how did she know my name? She'd already known back when we first met at the crucifixion crime scene. How? How'd she know it? And also, how'd she know where my base was?
当然でしょ。あなたの名前を知ってるのは。
Very cryptic answer. Could you elaborate, please? Has she just read my mind? I knew she was clairvoyant. She knew my name, my address, all because she used her powers on me.
タクって結構独り言多いよね。前から思ってたことだけど。
Always. How long was she talking? Wait, had I been talking to myself out loud just now? I hadn't been aware of it at all. Was that really true? Had I really been talking to myself out loud? Or was it possible that she's just lying to me, and in actuality she read my mind?
タクの名前を知らないわけないよ。私、物覚えはそんなに良くない方だけど、友達の名前くらい覚えるよ。
Friends. We're friends. Since when? Friends.
それともタク、私のことバカにしてる？そりゃ私、テストの点数はそんなに良くないけど。面と向かってそういうこと言われると傷ついちゃうな。
Was someone here crazy? But who was it? Me? Her? Why not the world? The whole world could be crazy for all you know.
もしかして転校生？
そういえば近いうちに転校生が来るらしいよ。スカチン先生が言ってた。
Our class. You mean his class? Or are you telling me that you are actually a part of it and this whole damn time I somehow didn't notice? There were two different conversations going on here. My terror from earlier, together with the anxiety of having no idea when I'd get killed, was starting to fade. But rushing in to replace it was a completely new kind of dread, slithering in to slowly erode my mind.
もしもし、その顔はまさかまだ信じてくれてない？
誰だ？
Who are they? A murderer. A demon girl. That was who.
うわ、タクこそクラスメートの顔を覚えてないんだ。ひどー。
Did she say classmate? So we weren't just friends, but classmates too?
でもまあ、しょうがないか。タクはあんまり学校来ないもんね。だからって、私の存在丸ごとなかったことにするのはどうかと思う。私の名前、本当に忘れちゃった？そんなことないよね。知ってるでしょ？あなたは知ってるはず。
Rimi.
そう、正解！賞金50円プレゼント。私、崎畑リミです。なんだ、やっぱり覚えててくれたんだね。よかったよかった。
How? Was it true? Was the demon girl's name really Rimi? Why had that name suddenly popped in my head just now? How did I know this girl's name? Maybe she really was my classmate and friend and I'd just forgotten. No. There was no way. I never even heard of the name Sakihara Rimi. It had to be a fake name. It had to be that I'd said Rimi. When I said Rimi, she just decided that that would be her name right then and there. It was like one of those spam emails from a Nigerian prince that used your personal info. Besides, other than Yua, I never met a 3D girl who talked to me like we were this close in my life. And Yua was the demon girl's underling. You know, I just thought of something. If Shogun, like Yua claims, is supposed to be me, and I was actually sending precognitive photos to myself via that chat log, and yet Rimi here, glad that we finally have a name for you now. Anyway, but Rimi here seems to not only recognize us, but claim that we know each other and are friends, and yet we obviously don't remember her, or even know who she is. I wonder, is she actually talking about herself and Shogun being friends, rather than the Takumi that we're controlling right here and now? Because if that's what's actually going on here, then, well, this makes me even more curious about what Shogun actually is. And I still don't know. I still don't think it's a multiple personality thing per se here, because the time discrepancies absolutely don't support that. And yet Yua, I remember her looking into DID on her computer at that one point. But again, the time frame of the photos and the chat logs, all that stuff just doesn't support that, at least from what I understand. Something's just not adding up here. But it just seems... it's not adding up, but I think somehow it has to be tied to the Shogun character. including Rimi seeming to recognize us. I wish I had something more solid here to base that feeling on, but I don't know what else it could be. Otherwise, none of this would make any sense. I need more information. Wait, that was it. What the girl calling herself Sakihara was doing right now was exactly the same as what you had done. This temptress I knew wasn't used to interacting with 3D girls, so she was attempting to lead me into a trap by behaving all friendly and trying to seduce me. It was the same exact strategy. The thing is, while I barely remembered my classmates' faces at all, and I didn't plan to either, I could say with absolute certainty that I'd never seen this girl's face in the same classroom as me before. Probably. Damn it. I couldn't completely rule it out. After all, whenever I was at school, I was usually glued to my desk until the final bell, pretending to sleep, having delusions, staring at my desk, or feigning reading my textbooks. I didn't do anything else. I had next to no memory of my classmates' names or faces, so I didn't even try to remember any. Which was it? Was she telling the truth, or was it all a lie? I'm going to go with the assumption that she is indeed telling us the truth, but that your lack of memory is also accurate. So, again, the only thing I can think of that could explain this discrepancy is that the Taku that she thinks she knows, and the Taku who is you, are actually two different people. No, it didn't matter whether or not we were classmates, because the one thing I knew for sure, the one hard, indisputable fact, was that she had committed murder.
もしかして本気で思い出せないの？さっき頭打ったせいで記憶喪失になっちゃった？
The demon girl reached for my head. I retreated back under the desk to try and avoid her.
タク、変だよ。じゃあ、大地に聞いてみて。そしたら、タクも思い出せるかも。
Daichin? What the hell was that? Was that a person? Or some sort of secret code? Another demonic incantation?
大地だよ、大地。三角大輔。
You know Misumi too? She knew Misumi-kun's name? Not only that, but she was calling him Daichin? She wouldn't call him that unless we were really close.
ちょっと待ってね。
The demon girl reached for a bag on the sofa, a bag that wasn't mine, and took out a cell phone.
大臣はと。よし、オッケー。はい。
After a bit of fiddling with the phone, she held it out to me. When I made no motion to take it, the demon girl forced a smile and quickly grabbed my hand.
ほら、固まってないで。
She forced me to hold the cell phone. The demon girl's hand was soft, and just a little bit cold. I expected it to be a lot colder, almost like ice, but it wasn't nearly that bad. I guess even murderers had blood flowing through their veins. And because her hand was unexpectedly feminine, my heart started to thump. No, don't fall for it. She's a demon. I'll never let her seduce me. I'm not into 3D. Lend me your power, Saratan.
タク、携帯使ったことないの？電話機は耳に当てるんだよ。
Tilting her head, the demon girl peered at my face from point-blank range. her hand still grabbing mine, she brought the phone up to my ear. But before she did, I quickly looked at the screen. The registered name Daichin was displayed, and it looked like it was already calling them. With no escape, I pressed the receiver up against my ear. I heard the sound of the phone ringing. Eventually that sound stopped, and it was replaced by the voice of Misumi-kun. They didn't give their name. It sounded like they were downtown or something, as I could hear a bunch of noise coming through the receiver. Rimi. Sakahara Rimi. Misumi-kun knew her? Well, it wasn't like that she was anything unusual. Misumi-kun was a natural-born playboy, after all. It wouldn't be surprising if he'd gone out with the demon girl in the past, or even if they were in a super intimate relationship now. That didn't matter to me, no. What I needed to know was whether the demon girl was my classmate or not.
Taku, Daichin deta?
The demon girl once again peered at my face. Shit, she was way too close. I turned my back to her and spoke into the receiver.
僕、西条。
なんだ、タクか。リミと一緒にいるのか?
Why had he responded so nonchalantly? Him acting so natural made it sound like me going to the demon girl was an everyday occurrence or something.
またリミに振り回されてるのか? 大変だな、お前も。でもよ、一つだけ言っていい? お前、そろそろ自分の携帯変えよ。
Was the person on the other end really Misumi-kun? For example, there was the possibility that the demon girl had made a phone call to someone who only sounded like Misumi-kun. Maybe this person who sounded like Misumi-kun was just another underling of hers, and he was only pretending to be Misumi-kun in order to trick me. I was starting to doubt anything and everything. I didn't know what was true and what was a lie. Hold on. What the hell kind of trap was the demon girl trying to make me fall into anyway? Why bother if a trap this elaborate? In a situation like this, wouldn't it be easier and quicker for her to just go ahead and kill me already? Or was there some reason behind it? Some kind of prerequisite saying she had to trick me, even if it meant taking it this slow? No. Maybe it was some hidden camera type thing spearheaded by Misumi-kun. The girl wasn't actually my classmate, but Misumi-kun's girlfriend, and he'd sent her here in order to screw with me. As fucking if. If that were the case, how the hell would I explain everything that happened at the Crew of Fiction crime scene?
で、タク、なんか用か? 俺としては、野郎からの電話なんてあんま嬉しくねえんだけどな。
His tone of voice sounded exactly like Misumi-kun's. The more I heard, the more convinced I was that the person on the other end had to be him.
女の口説き方でも教えてもらいたいのか? なわけねえか。
Should I start talking? I sensed a gaze on my back. The girl was staring at me. The chills on the back of my neck still hadn't gone away. What kind of expression was the demon girl making? I wanted to turn around and see for myself, but I was too scared.
で、なんなんだ? 今俺も女と一緒なんだよ。なるべく手短に頼むわ。
その、
なんだよ。早く言えって。
うちのクラス。
ああ、うちのクラスがどうした?
いる。
何が?
女子。
あ?
咲畑って名前の。
Despite just steadily becoming more and more incoherent, I somehow managed to explain myself. Suddenly, Misumi-kun stopped responding. Silence. However, I could still hear the noise of the city around him, so the call hadn't disconnected or anything. Why wasn't he talking? The next thing I heard was an extremely exaggerated sigh. Gamer brain, a theory that claims people who play video games experience a chronic decline in emotional restraint and judgment due to a condition similar to dementia. This theory stemmed from recorded measurements showing that the brains of those who play video games emit extremely low levels of beta waves compared to that of normal humans. So, it was widely publicized by the mass media and became a social issue for a period of time. But there were too many ambiguities present in the study, such as its methodology used to measure brainwaves, leading some to doubt its credibility. So, according to this, every time I play a game, I emit beta waves, so does that make me, whenever I play a video game, a beta male? Now, I take offense to that. Where'd that come from? And not only was he completely out of left field, but he brought up that bullshit condition that had been coined despite having no scientific backing whatsoever.
本当にクラスメイト。
お前な、たまにしか学校来ねえから忘れちまったか。俺はともかく、お前は1年の時から同じクラスだろ。この前だって3人で一緒に映画見に行ったじゃねえか。
I couldn't comprehend what the person that sounded like Misumi-kun was saying. He said that the demon girl and I had been in the same class since first year, and that the three of us had seen a movie together pretty recently. Pretty recently, but when exactly?
俺がお前とダチになったのだって、最初はリミに付き合わされたのがきっかけだったしな。俺と同じで、リミも物好きだからよ。ニートのお前を気にかけてやってるのは、世界広しといえど、俺とリミぐらいだぜ。あ、それは言い過ぎか。
Did I just stumble into a parallel universe or something without even realizing it or something? Because this is pretty incredible, everything that he's telling me. So incredible, in fact, I'm having trouble believing it myself. That all this could just be a memory lapse thing that we're dealing with on Takumi's part. Like, there's just no freaking way. The words I heard on the other end of the call, not a single one of them felt real to me. I had absolutely no memory of any of it. I couldn't acknowledge that any of that had happened in the past. I just couldn't. It was all some story that the person who sounded like Misumi-kun had made up. It couldn't be my past. The past could only be established as truth if a person remembered it. So if I didn't remember it, it wasn't true. If only that's how it actually worked. If only.
リミってマジで女っ気ないよな。これはあいつには言うなよ。
君は誰だ？
おいおい、マジでおかしくなったか？俺のことまで忘れたわけか？ゲームやりすぎ。
Unable to take it anymore, I hung up the phone. My breathing had grown extremely heavy without me noticing. The sweat that had been beading on my forehead showed no signs of stopping. In fact, it was increasing. Long trails of sweat trickled down my entire body, starting from my face and ending at my feet.
タク、汗びっしょりだよ。
The demon girl, looking worried about me, calmly offered me a handkerchief. A cute, patternless, vermilion handkerchief. There was a faint floral scent to it. Instead of taking it, I attempted to somehow maintain my composure and organize my thoughts about everything that was happening. But in the end, it didn't go too well. I was doubting anything and everything, causing all my thoughts to rapidly churn together into a chaotic whirlpool. Sighing in minor disappointment, the demon girl put away her handkerchief, and then, with a triumphant look on her face, she asked me a question.
で、大臣はなんて？
She was acting like she already knew the answer. I couldn't afford to answer her. What was she? An ordinary classmate of mine? Or a monster? I had no idea. Maybe I was the crazy one. Taking the chat with Shogun into consideration, I couldn't rule out the possibility that someone other than myself was controlling my body. Or maybe all my memories of that demon girl, of the girl named Sakihara Rimi, had somehow gotten knocked right out of me due to some freak accident or something. At this point, I didn't know anything about myself for sure. Did I have amnesia? Did I sleepwalk? Or could it be something else entirely? I vote something else entirely.
大丈夫？体、辛いならソファーで横になる？
The demon girl spoke to me kindly. Don't let your guard down. Anyone who acts nice to an otaku freak like me must have some kind of ulterior motive. I shook my head, putting my strong will to resist against the demon girl on full display. Then, using that same strength, I raised my head. Sweat got in my eyes, blurring my vision. The demon girl's face was a lot closer than I expected it to be. What color eyes were those?
なんで
何何？
ここにいる？
なんでって、タクに会いに来たんだよ。もしかして勝手に部屋に入ったこと怒ってる？でもそれはタクがちっとも返事してくれないから悪いんだよ。結構長い時間ノックしてたんだから。
I thrusted the cell phone she had given me back at her. As I watched the demon girl timidly take it back, I asked her once again.
なんで？
ん？今度は何？
ここにいる。
What was her reason for coming here? If she'd come to kill me, she would have done it a long time ago. So why wasn't she doing anything?
ああ、ここに来た理由？ね。
The demon girl reached into her bag and pulled out a single sheet of paper.
はい。進路希望のプリント持ってきてあげたの。
I found myself taking it from her without really thinking. She wasn't lying. The piece of paper did have post-graduation aspirations written on it, along with 3 blank spaces to write your answers in. Was that it? Was that really all she'd come for?
帰ってよ。
I don't want anything to do with her. I don't want anything to do with any 3D girls. This is a trap. Don't listen to her. This isn't reality. This is a game. One filled with bugs. There are way too many contradictions. It doesn't hold together as a proper story.
僕に関わらないでよ。
If you don't intend to kill me, then just leave me alone. I am me, Some me that isn't me may be friends with Sakihara Rimi, but that me has nothing to do with the current me. Cradling my head, I closed myself off completely. I kept trembling and trembling, envisioning that the demon girl known as Sakihara Rimi wasn't there anymore. Not long after, I heard the sound of the door opening, telling me that the demon girl had left. Well, that was something. That was a very, 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 very interesting encounter, to put it mildly. One that raises even more questions, yet again, but also raises some interesting possibilities in my mind, given all the other information I have so far, as scant as it is at the moment. I definitely have a lot of stuff to think, a lot of information to think over, that's for damn sure. Which I'm going to do from now until we get to our next episode, because I'm going to go ahead and cut things off here. I am currently, at least as of this moment, still under the opinion that whatever the deal is between with Takumi and Shogun, it isn't really memory loss via DID or anything like that, but something else entirely. Could be an alternate version of myself from another dimension or a timeline somehow communicating with us, in which case, if that's what's going on, that might explain this Rimi girl. But then why would Misumi suddenly have memories of this girl when we clearly don't? That whole conversation of Misumi, why would he know her then? Or have we stumbled into some kind of alternate reality at some point without realizing it? And we're a temporal fish out of water, so to speak. At this point, I'm more willing to believe that whatever's going on here, it's something else shit. Not long after, the sound of door opening told me the demon girl had left. In the midst of pitch black room, the pale light of the PC monitor cut through the darkness. I did not mean to press forward online, but anyway. I'm more willing to believe that it's something like that than just DID, like Yua seems to think. Possibly. There's a whole lot of possiblies here, but very few concrete anythings, and it's kind of starting to frustrate me a little bit, not gonna lie. Wish I could be more certain about what's going on here than I actually am. Wish I had more concrete stuff to fall back on rather than just speculation and hunches. But like I said, I'm gonna go over the information I have now in my head, and next time we come back, if I piece together or notice anything that might help serve as a additional clue as to what's actually going on here, I'll be sure to voice that information at the beginning of the next episode. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep going as we are now and see what keeps coming our way. With all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of Chaos Head Noah. If you did and you want to see more content from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I will see you all next time. Take care.